pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A regular meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Fredonia duly called and held on the second day of December 2019 at 6:30 p.m. in the Trustees Room, second floor, Village Hall, Fredonia, New York, and public notice of the time and place of this meeting has been given to the news media and conspicuously posted in one or more designated public locations in accordance with Section 104 of the Open Meetings Law.
Whereas members of this board present at this meeting have read the official minutes of the Board of Trustees regular meeting of November 18th, 2019, and executive session minutes of November 18th, 2019, in which a vote was taken. Now therefore be it resolved, this board approves the minutes as entered the official minutes, and be it further resolved that the reading of the minutes be dispensed with.
I'll second that.
Trustee Christina?
Yes.
Trustee Linden?
Aye.
Trustee Essek?
Yes.
Trustee Briggs?
Yes.
Trustee Barris?
Aye.
So we go to workshop. We have the Fredonia Youth Group donation box in the Village Hall.
I think that's great. Nice. Wonderful.
It's really good,
Thanks
yeah.
to them for doing that.
Then we have the annual audit, and please come forward. Sure.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us. The board has had the audit for a few weeks now to review. I will keep my presentation brief. If there are any questions, please don't hesitate. So our overall opinion is the independent auditor's report, and it is an unmodified opinion, which means it is a clean opinion on the overall financial status of the village as of the end of the year. Okay, so there were no overall audit findings. We did have an internal control comment that we'll talk about at the end. But if you turn to page 6, this shows the comparison of the overall statement of position as of the end of the year, the assets and liabilities. And you'll see that the overall net position did increase from $7.7 million at the end of 2018 to just over $9 million at the end of 2019. These numbers are presented in thousands, so that's the translation there. The assets were up, the liabilities were also up, but then you had investment in new capital assets. So the overall net position did go up. Page 7 shows the change in net position based on the revenues and expenses for the year. Total revenues did increase from just over $9 million to $10.7, and your total expenses did increase also, although not as large of an increase, from 8.7 to 9.4. So the overall change was the 1.3, okay, the increase. This presentation, the overall presentation, includes the capital assets and all the debt. Okay, so this is not the fund activity, which is presented individually in the statements. This includes the overall entity. Okay. If you turn to if we jump right to page 14, this starts to show the fund level activity. Okay, by fund. This is the statement of the balance sheet as of May 31st, so this shows the assets and liabilities by fund. Okay, so the general fund had $1.8 million in assets and $1.7 million in fund balances as of the end of the year. The water fund had $1.3 million in assets, liabilities of 26, and then $1.3 million in fund balance. Okay. The wastewater treatment had $1.7 million in assets, 45 in liabilities, and almost $1.7 million, $1.699 fund balance. Okay, and then the special grant fund had the $246,000, and then the capital projects fund, $2.8 million. We did make, if you turn to the next page, well, actually, we need to go 2 pages. This shows the revenues and expenses by fund. Okay, so this shows the change in the activity by fund. We did at the, for 2019, in the capital projects fund, make the prior period adjustment to get the bond anticipation notes recorded correctly. I know that we had discussed that last year. It was part of the presentation, that they had been being presented as part of long-term debt. They are supposed to be in the fund that they were used to finance, so we did make that adjustment this year to make that correction. It wasn't necessarily wrong to have them in the long-term debt because they were used for projects that extended more than a year, but it's always better to have them in the fund itself, so that's why we moved them this year, yes.
So that why you have a 1.125, 809 in the negative?
Yeah, the deficit is because
Yes.
that liability is in that fund.
So that's a transfer of those bonds, that amount.
Right, and as those are converted to long-term financing, that is when that fund balance starts to bring itself back to the positive, okay? Most capital projects funds, because they have the financing in them, have negative fund balance until that's transferred to long-term financing, converted, I should say.
So past audits, that's where we had shown like 1.3 or whatever million, a lot of that was bonding.
Any questions on the fund statements? The detail, the page in between that we skipped and then the next page is the explanation of the adjustments that are made to book the assets and the liabilities and the changes in them to the various statements to get to the overall presentation that we looked at first. Okay, so we take the fund statements, we put on the capital assets, we put on the debt, and those adjustments are what convert, these adjustments are what convert the fund statements to the overall statement, okay? Then we have the agency fund, which has just the $6,800 in it, with no change in that during the year. And then on page 20, the presentation of the component unit, which is the Darwin Barker Library, which had just over $3 million in assets and pretty much only $8,800 in liabilities, so pretty much the same net position. And then the change in the activity for the library on the next page. And then we have the footnotes, which are basically just a lot of reading material, a lot of definitions, the accounting policies, the budgetary basis of accounting, the property tax recognition, the retirement systems. I do, on page 28, do like to call everybody's attention to cash balances on page 28 and 29, and the fact that they were all covered either by FDIC insurance or collateralization. That is one thing that we always test for, and the balances were sufficiently covered. The property tax calculation in the middle of page 29, and then the interfund transfers, basically just showing that they balanced between the funds at the end of the year. A detail of receivables and due from other governments on page 30. Your changes in your capital assets on page 31. And we had some increases for different construction projects and different equipment that was purchased during the year. Then we get into the pension plan. The payment to the employees' retirement system for the year was $223,000, up from $198,000 from 2018. The police and fire payment was actually down from $437 to $423. Those are based on actual payrolls and the rates established by the systems. Then we have all the discussion regarding the GASB 68 proportionate share liability that you are now required to report because of the new accounting standard that came out a couple years ago. So that basically just shows your proportionate share of the entire plan for each, the police and fire and the employees' retirement system. It's really a very small percentage, but does put the liability on your books, okay? And that's just, again, a governmental accounting standard that came out that required it a couple of years ago. Then we have detail on the debt, both short-term and long-term, and the changes in the long-term on page 36, and the balance outstanding of just over $4.5 million at the end of the year. And then the maturity schedule, excuse me, and then the equity classifications, and again, just more definitions. And then on page 39, the statement that we did evaluate subsequent events through the date of our report, and there was nothing that was required to have been disclosed that wasn't disclosed, no financial matters that came to our attention up through that date. Then we have budgetary comparison schedules. We have no expenditure items that were over budget, so that's something that we look for, so that's a positive note. Then we have the water fund schedule, and again, nothing over expended. The wastewater treatment schedule, nothing over expended. And then we have the supplemental schedule of the proportionate share of the net pension asset and liability. Again, this is the payments that were made and your proportionate share to each of those systems. Then we have our report on internal control and compliance. We did have one internal control finding this year that is detailed on page 48, and that is that we had the material misstatement for the adjustment that needed to be made to the college for the water billings. Okay, so that final amount was determined, it was recorded, it's reflected in these financial statements, and because it was material, it is disclosed as a material misstatement. Okay? And that's the report. You should also have a separate letter that is just our communication to the board, just outlining the management's responsibilities versus the auditor's responsibilities. Management is responsible for the selection of accounting policies. We are responsible for reporting on the financial statements. There are some accounting estimates included within the statements, as there are with any set of financial statements, for depreciation and those net pension liabilities, inflows and outflows. We had no difficulties encountered in performing the audit. We did not have any disagreements with management. There were no uncorrected misstatements, so there was nothing that came to our attention that we didn't disclose or didn't correct. Management has provided us with a representation letter. There were no consultations with other accountants, and there were no other findings or issues that we did not bring to the board's attention or to the attention of the treasurer. Any questions?
Yeah. Can you tell us about the source of the special fund?
The special revenue fund?
Yeah. Can you tell us where the money comes from?
That's part of the community development fund that's been around years.
It's my understanding that it was funds that were granted during the COVID administration. So funds are dispersed, loans are given to,
I don't believe there are any active loans anymore.
but there have been in the past
Correct.
since 1979. And the funds are returned, so it's a circulating fund. So,
Correct.
but
It's
the
held in
source,
trust. Yep.
I understand, was originally a federal grant.
It started out as a HUD grant, and we got 2 rounds of funding. The second round, they converted it to a revolving loan fund, which we could lend out money to individuals and to businesses. That there hasn't been any activity in that account for the last 3 years now, and those were just the final payments on an outstanding loan that had been made, and so there's very little activity right now. It's something the board should look at. There's money can be lent out, but you'll have to reestablish a loan program You have to hire a loan committee and set the parameters for the amount of the loans, the interest that you want to charge. And so that's, right now, it's kind of just sitting there.
Okay, I have another question, and that regards the special components. The Barker Library is regarded as a special component. Why is not the 1891 Opera House regarded as a special component? I don't see any substantial difference between the funding operations of the library and the Opera House.
Well, the Opera House is a separate 501c3. They theoretically they rent the space from us in like kind, and so it wouldn't be part of the audit. The library is it was established a lot of years ago, and so under the accounting procedures, it's required to report it. It's just for reporting purposes. We contribute a small amount of money to support the library, but I don't think that really has any bearing on it either, does it?
In my examination of the Opera House budget, I don't see any rent payments to the village.
Doesn't make payments to the village. They've spent a considerable amount of money, over $1 million, to renovate and to renovate the Opera House. It was done without any funds from the village. They got some grant money through historic preservation, and that's about it, really. It's separate and distinct from us.
Okay,
That's the way it is.
Anything else?
that's enough for now.
Right. Anybody else? Yes, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on, I'll have the DRA certification training for Officer Randall Pike.
I think everybody got that email I sent out with the attachments with regard to it. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Well, for the, advance of the people who are watching, if you want to, say 2-3 lines.
Well, the drug recognition expert training is a 2-phase training program that is required for officers who are making DWI drug arrests. The Sheriff's Department has 2 individuals who do that for the entire county. Frequently, they're not available, or they're some distance away if they are available. We're trying to get somebody within the Village Police Department who is certified in this. I'm not aware of any other police agency in Chautauqua County that has done that. That's not to say that there isn't, I'm just not aware of it. So this is the first part is out of town. It's a 2-week training. The New York State Department of Motor Vehicles has offered to, through their funding, to pay the officer's hotel stay, which is what has made it cost prohibitive for us. We've never been able to afford, actually every agency, we've never been able to afford to send anybody. The second phase, which is out in Arizona, is always paid for by the Governor's Traffic Safety Committee. That's paid in its totality. But you can't get to the second phase until you get past the first phase. So we've been fortunate enough to secure this possible funding for the first phase, allowing us to actually obtain this training for a nominal fee. As you can see, I put $500, not to exceed $500. Simply, it's meals and gas back and forth.
And so that everybody understands, if we do phase 1, the expectation is that we will do phase 2.
It wouldn't be right to take the phase 1 funding from the Department of Motor Vehicles if you're not on board for the phase 2.
Okay, so that everybody understands that, all right.
The phase 1 is out in
Cayuga.
Thank you. You go.
He'll be driving out there every day?
No,
Just go out and stay?
DMV is gonna cover the hotel cost.
Okay, but he's gonna take one of our vehicles out there and stay for a week, so we'll be out one vehicle for that entire time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But with my departure in January, my vehicle's available for that.
So there, all right. Anything else? I think it's a great thing. It's a great opportunity actually for the village and for the department, so, great. And then let's discuss the firefighter and EMT. It's something that we have been discussing for some months now, because of the needs that we have with the fire department. You want to say something about it?
In the past, we've talked about the possibility of adding firefighter EMT positions to supplement what we currently have now at a cost savings to the community. I worked with the bargaining unit over there and come up with a solution that works best for both of us. Our call volume continues to increase over there, and for years we had relied on the commercial ambulance service. I just pulled some numbers earlier today. In the last 6 months, we've done about 80% of our transports out of there, which we used to do about 20%, and they covered 80%, so their availability has shrunk to just about nothing.
Thinking about the EMTs instead of medics, as we have right now, the thought behind it was instead of having paramedics, which is highest paid, obviously, to drive cars, we can have an EMT there, not to replace paramedics, obviously,
Right,
but
this
have some.
This would be an additional personnel to supplement the 2 medics that are
Right.
currently working, each day.
Correct.
Brian, when did you want to take this into effect?
Soon.
Okay, we don't have any additional personnel budgeted into our budget.
No, but currently we are one position down in there that could be utilized. Looking at my payroll lines, there's enough money there to hire 2 firefighter EMTs right now, send them to the academy, and still be under payroll budget when June 1st comes when they finish the academy.
Okay. The funds you're currently speaking of, that's not guaranteed that that's going to stay freed up for these 2 people. I mean, you kind of know what I'm talking about here. It's up in the air right now, but, is this something that could wait till our current next budget takes effect?
If you wait till the next budget takes effect, as the board is aware, we've been selected to do a cost data analysis for Medicare, Medicaid. Jim and I have taken a webinar. It's pretty intense information that they're going to be looking for. I'm currently still part of the scheduled workforce, so if we push that off another 6 months and for 14 weeks of training, we're going to be looking at another year period before those individuals would be trained and able to go onto the trucks to pull me back off and put me in the administrative side again.
I mean, we'll be paying overtime anyways.
We have been paying overtime since June now. So one individual graduates from the academy Friday. He'll have approximately 4 to 5 weeks of training. That puts us back to still one position down with an individual leaving in February to go to the academy for 14 weeks. And everyone's vacation will start to be taken, so that'll put us down to overtime with me still on the schedule as manpower.
Do you have any intentions to fill that open vacancy that you say you have that's going to provide the funding for these 2 firefighters in the future?
Filling that vacancy is undetermined at this point.
So I guess what I'm saying is, so we utilize those funds now for these 2 firefighter EMTs, and you decide after budget time, we're going to fill that position, so we're still adding.
The position's budgeted, that position is budgeted through the end of the year.
I mean, if we can hire 2 people for the money that you have for one right now, and we have double the time,
Right, which,
two people working there.
Right.
Makes more sense to me right
which
now.
would expand out our coverage hours for transporting. Right now, we transport Monday to Friday, 7 to 3, and 7 days a week, 11 to 7. By that, having the two additional people, we'd be able to go Monday through Friday, 3 to 11, and add additional 40 hours of transporting coverage, plus we've increased the transporting fees to the cost recovery system as well. That took effect October 1st.
You're saying these two individuals don't have to go to the academy?
They would have to go to the academy in February, in the next round, but they would be, come June 1st, they would be shortly finished with the academy and then able to go right into the schedule. Otherwise, if we wait till next budget year as well, we're looking at adding another 14 weeks on top of that, depending on where there's academy, fire academy or not.
Anything?
Currently, everyone is a paramedic.
Correct. Yes.
And then, and the savings would be, how much per, I mean,
There was a pay schedule that was attached to there. I don't have the numbers in front of me right now.
well, as the pre.
As of, the language that's listed on here, prior contracts, I know when I started here, a requirement to be a critical care or paramedic was not part of the job. The village paid a stipend for EMTs, critical cares, and paramedics at that time. That's where the EMT, basic EMT 3 and 4 languages on there. In 2005, the village made a requirement that all people hired from that day forward were critical care or paramedics. This is continuing to maintain those positions that we currently have and add additional positions of firefighter EMTs to help supplement that.
That's what I was going to get to. We would maintain the current number of paramedics.
In the resolution here, at the bottom of the resolution, you have, must be stipends for hire date and pre-dates here. You got two pre-2014,
That was,
and there's two separate figures there for two pre-2014, or 2004, I'm sorry,
so
2004.
anyone who was employed here prior to 2005 was not required by contract or civil service to be anything greater than a firefighter. Those were the stipends in 2000, prior to 2004. 2003, a firefighter who had their EMT got paid an extra $1.35 an hour.
So it should be corrected to 2003, that first 2004.
It's contract language that's in the CBA right now.
Okay,
This is just a copy of what's in there with the paragraph at the end added.
Okay, well, our resolution then it needs to be corrected to 2003.
Contract language and put it in here.
This is copy
That
and
is the
paste from the
current
contract
contract
language. So anybody previous to 2004 made $1.35 an extra who was an EMT. As a medic, they made $2.25 an extra.
Okay,
Above and
firefighter,
beyond
paramedic, okay, I see.
So in 2000, anybody hired June 1st of 2005, was negotiated with the union at the time that anybody hired that day forward was a paramedic or a critical care as part of their agreement.
Okay, it's $1.35 is for plain firefighter, $2.25 is for firefighter medic.
That's contract language that's currently in there prior to anyone hired June 1st, 2005.
What this all does is gives us greater availability and still maintain a high level of capability.
High level of service to the community and the ability to help cover the increased call volume.
That's what we're looking for. Thank you.
This was a big hurdle, and before we can move forward with anything else, as we spoke about before with previous hires, it was all contract negotiations with the union, because in their contract, per the village board, in their agreement from 2005, anybody hired was required to be a firefighter, critical care, or paramedic.
These individuals would be coming off a civil service test?
Yes.
List?
Is it typical for most communities to have people who are have these certifications rather than just a firefighter?
City of Jamestown, City of Dunkirk, to be hired require firefighter EMT certification. Most places are. I know they're teaching it at the academy, the fire academy at the end. City of Buffalo teaches their class before their fire academy. So most places do require firefighters to also have their EMTs. We were fortunate enough 14, 15 years ago plus to have the foresight to see the need for the advanced level of care, which is very beneficial for the community.
Brian, how many other communities that you're aware of in Chautauqua County also require the firefighters to be a paramedic?
We're the only one.
That's great. I have the highest. Anything else?
Abstaining.
Okay, moving on. So we have the Chamber of Commerce Small Business Revolution. That was great news, and who wants to talk about that?
Thank you for giving us time, Mayor Landis, trustees, and the members of the audience. My name is Ann Ekman, and I'm on the Fredonia Chamber of Commerce Board. And we're here to talk about Small Business Revolution. As most of you are aware, we've been chosen to be we are in the top 10 for this program. And what Small Business Revolution is 2 people. It's a show that is shown on Hulu and Amazon Prime. Amanda Brinkman and Ty Pennington, which most of you know from Trading Spaces, would come into the village. Let me step back first. Right now we're in the top 10 of this. And so next Wednesday and Thursday, 2 people from the show will be coming, not those 2, 2 people from the show will be coming to visit the village. They're going to be taking a tour of some of our historic places, the things that make Fredonia, Fredonia, and then they will spend 2 hours on Wednesday touring small businesses by themselves. They've asked that no one accompany them. They want to have free, open conversation with the small businesses. And then on Thursday, they're going to spend the entire day doing that again by themselves. They hope to visit at least 20 businesses within the village. The businesses have actually submitted applications to have people come in and talk to them. We were out, spent a lot of time pounding the pavement to get the businesses to fill out those applications. And so they will go see as many as they can. Then on January 14th, they will all go back. They're coming from Ohio, which is another top 10 village. And so they're coming in here right after that. So on January 14th, they're going to announce who the top 5 are. And so when Fredonia is announced as part of the top 5, then we, on the January 21st, or on the 14th, I'm sorry, they start public voting. And then on the 21st, public voting closes. And then on the 28th, they're going to announce the winning town. So now, when Fredonia wins, that team of Amanda Brinkman, who is a financial guru, and Ty Pennington and other people from the show would come in. They will pick the businesses that they're going to target. Some will get renovations. Some will be flown to Deluxe's headquarters, and it's Deluxe, yes, the people who make the checks. They're the people that are funding this whole entire program. And it is valued at $500,000. So some people say, oh, who's going to get the check for $500,000? Nobody gets the check for $500,000. It's $500,000 of in-kind and things that they do for the village. So we're real excited. We're trying to get out there. I beg all of you that are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, anything, LinkedIn. The hashtags are #MyFredonia, #Deluxe, and #SmallBusinessRevolution, because they're watching us. They want to know that we want this. It's not just they're going to come in and just hand it to us. They want to know that we're excited about it. So if you have followed any of the committee's Facebook pages, I'm hashtagging 25, 30 times a day. We are sharing the business pages of the small businesses in Fredonia. Tom Horowitz, who is a community member, has jumped on this social media thing, and he's got us all challenging people to post the pages of small businesses. So for the next week, this is what we need everybody, not only in this room, but who are listening at home, to start getting that word out, because they're not going to hand $500,000 to an apathetic community. They want an excited community. So we're really looking forward to this, and we're working hard to make sure that we're going to have some great times for them here. Do you guys have any questions about this?
Great.
Yeah.
It's a great opportunity actually for the village and
Yeah.
the businesses. And yes, nobody gives money to a community who is not up and running and asking for that. So
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah, so hashtag away, follow Deluxe Corporation. I've been posting on my LinkedIn page, I posted on my Instagram page, and like I said, everybody who is my friend on Facebook probably hates me, because I do that about 30 to 40 times a day, but that's okay, because we need them to know, so.
Can I just add to your comments there? There was some questions on the social media of where the money actually goes, if it goes to the village. The village of Fredonia gets
Yep.
none of it. It goes all to the small businesses or nonprofits who apply and they get awarded to. So
Yep.
the village does not administer, get anything at all, just so everybody's clear. And on the days that, on the 11th and 12th, that the people from Deluxe are here, it's from 2 to 4, they'll meet businesses. And then, or I'm sorry, 2 to 4 is a tour. And from 4 to 6 is when they meet the businesses. So I would implore all the businesses downtown, if they could, to be open and be willing to speak to any of the representatives from Deluxe up to 6 o'clock there. And then on Thursday from 9:30 to 2:30 p.m., they will be trying to visit as many businesses as they can. So those are the times from 4 to 6 on the 11th and 9:30 to 2:30. So all the businesses could be.
I have a question. Will they get a list of all the businesses in the community? Like, how will they know?
It's through the application process, the
Okay.
people that have applied, plus we're trying to target people as well. They're gonna start in the Opera House at 2 o'clock. We're getting T-shirts printed. We've all been watching the videos of the winning communities. And last year, the community that won, they had 400 people standing there, and they all had this T-shirt on. And it was like a huge pep rally. So
Make sure that every business had applications.
we did the best. The Chautauqua County Chamber of Commerce emailed every business in Fredonia, I do believe twice. So they have been a great
With the
help to us
application?
to fill out the application and to send them the entire the same information that they sent to us. So the county chamber has been really very helpful in pushing the information out for us. We are going to have the T-shirts for sale in the information booth during Miracle on Main Street. So anybody who wants them, we had 100 printed up. They promised us that haven't done by Thursday, because we just ordered them on Saturday. So they're being very helpful to get these printed very, very quickly for us. So we're pretty excited about it, but we need the village to come out. You know, it's not 10 of us sitting in a room with them. We want hundreds of people, and I know it's an awkward time for those of us that work to be at the Opera House at 2 o'clock, but we're pushing everybody to be there and to support them and to show them that we really want this.
And on a village level, I mean, I know we want to make the town look as pretty as possible and clean up around town. Anything we can do with the DPW to clear up snow or ice or leaves or debris or anything prior to that day?
If we could get Main Street swept and all the leaves off the sidewalks, just along Main Street, that would be very helpful. I mean, it's a double-edged sword. You don't want to look too pretty, but I mean, they're going to see the empty storefronts. They're going to see the peeling paints. They're going to see those things. But we want them to see a community who loves our community. not one that's not doing that. So if we can get those streets cleaned up and anything we can do, specifically on Main Street, it's where they're gonna spend 99% of their time. That would be phenomenal if the village can assist with that part.
Any outside help we can get from friends and relatives in other states that can kind of chime in on some of the hashtag program?
Oh, we're sharing it. So we're trying to get some other people. Like I said, it's about everybody. We're trying to get Jen Scher to put us on her page and get her followers to like what's going on. Grace Schakowsky, who is a graduate from Fredonia High School, she was the person who nominated us. And so she is in Washington, D.C., where she lives and works, sharing this everywhere. So she's been a real help, and she's actually been on the phone calls with us, and she's really trying to help us as well, because she is in marketing and PR. So, and if you guys have any questions, you can be my friend on Facebook, and then you can share all my posts so everybody can see them. So, but all of us, this is part of the committee. Supervisor-elect Pecos and I spent 2.5 hours yesterday driving around Fredonia trying to plot. You know how hard it is to plan a route where you can see a lot of stuff and not go by the same stuff twice? So we've got a nice route for them to be able to see everything from Russell Joy Park to what is going on at Agri America to what has happened at ConAgra to the White Inn, Russell Joy Park, Canada Way Creek, SUNY Fredonia, the Fredonia Seed Building, so, all of the downtown businesses, and telling the story of them as well as the gas well and other things. So I think we've got a pretty well laid out route. We got sick of driving around Fredonia yesterday, but it was okay. We got it figured out. So if you guys have any questions, let us know.
Moving along, do you have anything? No. Okay. Fredonia police sign, we have some samples there. I would like you to vote.
Election day polls in charge. Is that what you just went over?
The police sign.
Oh, police sign, I'm sorry, I didn't.
Chief, it's our understanding that the Maldani brothers want to donate a new sign to our building?
I was approached by them, and they indicated that that is the case, yes.
And you gave us three samples?
Those were samples that they actually went and collected and sent to me based on what's up there right now. So the color schemes on any of those samples can be changed to meet whatever desires the board has, if the board so chooses to accept the donation.
Will the sign be made locally?
The name of the company that is making the sign is on there. I honestly don't know the answer to that question.
360 Graphics in Jamestown, New York?
Yep, that's what I was saying. I like C. I like that one. So,
I don't have them in front of me, so you have me at a disadvantage. A is what's there right now. Somebody give me a shot of that. A is what is we currently have.
The reason I like A is because we are a Victorian village, and this fits the letters fit the theme of the Victorian village.
Now, like he said, we can change the font. You can take C and
B
put
and
the
C don't.
You guys can do anything you want with it. What that sign that's up there now, that's the A. I did originally when I got here, based off the Opera House sign and the sign that's out in front of Village Hall. I wanted them to match up.
That makes
So I
sense.
definitely want that color, that green.
I like
I shouldn't say I want. I definitely recommend that you have that color green in the sign to maintain the integrity of the building and that,
Right,
so that it
matches.
matches the
Yes,
existing sign.
Absolutely.
It's important for
I'd
things to
recommend
match and have a theme, a unified theme.
Yeah.
I like A.
I do too.
Any of,
So, anybody else? You like A?
you have 2 for A.
Well, are we going to accept the donation? I mean, we have to vote to accept the donation first, right?
All right, moving along, election day polling site charts. So that's, what is it?
There's nothing on there, right?
Right.
So basically, you guys had a, to be honest with you, I don't know if this is an executive session item or not. You're talking about a fee that you're gonna charge. Okay.
No.
So-
Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, but when this came up before the election, didn't I ask what we were gonna charge? And I think you said it would just be the normal hourly rate based on the number of the hours the officer's gonna be there.
The only reason, that decision's not mine to make.
Right.
So that decision's the board's to make what they're gonna ultimately charge the Board of Election for the service. It's based on 8 hours of service for a police officer.
And do you have a rate of that officer that was at there at the time?
The officer was a part-time officer, so the rate is much lower than it would be if it was a full-timer. Often we use full-timers. But I'll give you the range, and then you can decide for yourself. For a part-timer, it would be about $20 an hour. For a full-timer, it would be about $60 an hour. So, this year it happened to be a part-time person filling the position, but next year it could be full-time.
Bill accordingly.
If they even ask us again.
Pardon?
If they even ask us again.
Right.
Yeah, well, if you recall, the resolution that was passed and what the county presented to you was at a cost not to exceed $4,500.
Right.
So we're nowhere near that amount. So,
Brad, would you normally have to have somebody on overtime if there wasn't a part-time person, or
If there wasn't a part-time person available, it would have gone to an overtime person in time and a half. Which we, based on the contract that you guys had with the county election board, that it would have fallen below that
Well below
ceiling.
that.
Yeah. So I wasn't nervous about, however, we just happened, that particular day, I was able to schedule a part-time officer to provide that service. And the closest to my ability to understand, the only reason we're being asked to do this is because there are children there, and so it kind of violates the security of a school to have people going in and out of a school when they are now using that school again. In past years, since it's been a polling site, it wasn't a functioning school at the time, and now it is. In addition to that, the governor, I was about to say your governor, but he's mine too, gave the right to vote to felons. So now you don't really know who's going in and out of that building anymore. So that I think is the logic behind the security.
Okay, so what do you think?
I think we bill accordingly. We cover the cost to the village, and there's no cost incurred to us. We break even, and if it happens to be a different situation next
So
time,
how many hours is
we
it?
bill according to that year, whatever's available.
8 hours?
So we bill for whatever,
So $160?
whatever it costs, but depending
that
on the year. I mean,
Well, there's administrative costs and things like that to be added too, so, I don't know, we could keep it within range and,
let me make a suggestion.
yes.
I would suggest the $60 an hour. That's the average rate. It doesn't include a time and a half rate, and it's just consistent.
It'll be fair in case next year they ask us again, they have at least an idea of what it would charge, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm
It's
happy with that.
at 8
So
hours,
the rest
it's
of the
like still less than $500. I
Right.
mean,
You okay
board. I'm
with
happy
that?
with that.
I guess so. I don't know. We can't charge them something different every year depending on who we have covering.
right.
Like, why does it have to be the same every year?
mean,
I don't know. I mean, I can't remember what we said in the resolution. It didn't say that it has to be the same every year, right? Just not to exceed.
It wasn't a not to exceed amount.
Right.
And so this is the average.
Right.
I added up each of the 13 officers' rates, and so this represents the average of a full-time officer.
I'm okay with that too. I guess.
I'm okay with the full-time pay, and especially when the state okays that we allow felons to vote and go into buildings with children. Absolutely. Next year, maybe 2 officers.
All right then. And we have the back electric quote, and that's because we have way too many extension cords here, and we need to follow our own lead and actually follow our code to hardwire the lights and the garlands and all that on that side of the building, I believe. Correct. And that is about $900, $965.
Jim, what are we up to now on the installation of the lights and all the work we've had done with Beck Electric?
What do we have to do?
No, total. What are we up to now with them?
Well, including the lights.
Yeah, just everything. Give me a ballpark of what we got into this
It's about
project.
$11,000. But 8 of that was for them hanging the lights on the building, because we had to use a high lift.
Right.
They're there almost it was 4 days.
Right.
And so.
And then we were able to use the basket.
Then they were gracious enough to let us use the high lift to caulk the windows up the stairs.
Right.
And they provided the operator, and I'm not sure, but I don't think we're gonna get an extra bill for that.
Right. Yeah, we talked about that at the last meeting.
Yeah.
No, you're not. That was all part of the fact that
Was
they had
it?
rented that unit for up to a week. And when the issue became one of concern over the obvious faulty windows and things that could go wrong, I appealed to them to see if they would comply with our wish to have them work with our guys to secure the windows. And we did over, I believe it was 7 or 8 windows, compromising 3 days worth of work. And again, that was not even part of the original estimate, just to do the rewiring, putting in outlets outside, putting in the new LED lighting, rope lighting and all that. That's why when we first discussed this whole thing, I mentioned that was an option. The board and everybody agreed that it was probably wiser to do that instead of trying to use, well, we can't use a fire truck. And my guys certainly don't know how to run a 60-foot lift. But I think it looks great. And this current estimate is not something that I was originating. It was brought to our attention upon the inspection of the City Hall that the current code, for whatever reason, doesn't allow temporary extension cords for decorations even for 30 or 60 days, which was news to me, and it was pretty much made clear again today at the department head meeting by Chuck that to be in compliance, this was what he felt we should do. So it'll be permanent, outdoor, waterproof, hardwired outlets for future use for year-round. Again, why was it never done? I have no clue. You had indoor extension cords around every one of these windows for years, lighting old Christmas lights. So now we are technically, I guess, up to code.
Tony, is there any thought in the future to continue to have Beck if we have other windows that are compromised for safety, like in the springtime when the weather gets appropriately to be warm enough to do those with the glazing to go around and secure other windows as well?
Oh, yeah, I mean,
Can we do that, you think?
they came back today, just so you know, so Beck isn't like the bad guy. They came back today gratis, and the garland on the Temple Street side of the building, that quote doesn't reflect what would have cost to be hardwired in another set of outlets on that side. There's an outlet up above in the archway ceiling, an existing outlet. that is not easily reached without a bucket truck. So they came back and we eradicated that temporary orange extension cord that was used for the repeater. And then we ran an extension cord from the end of the garland, camouflaged inside the garland with green cord, and you ran it back up and it's now plugged into the original outlet. And that was done for free today. So that was very kind of them to help us out there.
Well, thank you to both. Yeah, I didn't mean it in that manner.
Oh, no, I think it's just,
Yeah, if we could in the future, continue to secure the windows.
I think that we need to look at,
I think we need to look at replacing.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, but, yes, absolutely.
No, that was, it's confusing Beck Electric with the ability to do windows. They just had that lift thing here, that was a rental.
I understand
That was
that.
only for Beck Electric to use, it just happened that we had some need at the time.
Do you
So,
understand what I'm saying, Tony? There's an individual from the DPW that was able to do that.
well, I want everybody to be understanding too, that the identification of the critical windows that needed most attention was made by Fredonia Glass.
Okay.
And we asked him to come over and he went through the whole situation with Jim, and then Jim called me in on it. And it was, there's 7 or 8 that needed immediate attention.
There was one that was loose.
Oh, yeah, there was one with a rotted sash that was ready to.
In the town of Pomfret's office.
Yes, it
We
was.
took care of it.
So, there's more that needs to be done. Obviously, these measures we did were purely to remedy a safety concern. They are by no means, in my mind, a proper fix, but it gives us some comfort knowing that they probably won't be an issue right now. There's many things you need to look at as a board, obviously, as you know, in this village hall, that could use some updating or repair. But I feel confident that the work that we did, that was outlined to us by the Professional Window Corporation company, he came back twice and worked with us, just helping the guys because he was involved in remedying the whole thing. So,
All right.
a good group effort.
Very good, thank you. The last thing is not here about the wastewater treatment plant. The pump, the sewage pump, the second, actually the third. We have 3. One was out for service. One is working, the other one failed yesterday. And Sam called me about not replacing it, but renting one for the next couple of weeks. And I emailed the board $7,500 a week, up to 4 weeks probably. But I don't see it here. Did you talk to anybody? He said that you gave him the okay.
I gave them the okay. They had the company coming down this morning with their boom. I guess they need, these are the centrifuges. And I talked to Tony Mastretta, who's the mechanic down there, and he said they were coming down, they were gonna be able to replace one. He wasn't sure how long that was gonna take. But he asked if while they were there, if we could have them install 2 of them. So I felt there was an emergency situation. There is money in the budget. We've got 2 lines in our wastewater treatment plant budget, one for replacement and one for repair. And the combination is, there's about $60,000 left. I have no idea how much this is gonna cost, but my feeling is that it's something that we can't procrastinate on. It needs to be done.
No,
In the
maybe-
meantime, if it's gonna take more than a week or at least a week, we can go ahead, we can rent one for $7,500. And there is money in the budget to cover that, so I don't think we need to have a board resolution, but I mean, you can have one if you'd like it, but
Or if there's money in the budget, right?
yeah.
Okay. All right, then.
I got one thing under new business, if I could. Recently, I was contacted by the Festivals Fredonia Committee. There's a lovely woman over at 33 Lambert Avenue that'd like to donate a Christmas tree to our podium, a gazebo this year. And unfortunately, someone sent me to the wrong house, but I did find the right house afterwards. Spoke to the woman, and she was very gracious and would like to see this tree donated to the village to use for our Christmas ceremony this Saturday of the lighting of the Christmas tree. And I would ask the board to accept her gift. And we have volunteers from Festivals Fredonia willing to go cut that down tomorrow morning, if it's okay to accept the gift from the village.
It's nice, very nice.
Sure.
Thank you.
Like a natural tree.
It's a natural tree, yeah. It's something in her yard that's been there for many years. It's a very beautiful tree, and it just got out of hand for her, and she felt that would be a beautiful donation to the village for our Christmas season.
It's not the
It'll
right
look
way.
nice in the gazebo.
What's that?
It's not the right.
It's not in the right of way. No, we're good.
Tony?
Roger, are they they're gonna deliver the tree to the gazebo? Is that,
Well, the staff is sitting here now. How is that going to be handled once it's chopped down?
all right, what about lighting and decorations?
Base.
Okay. We have a base,
We might need that, because we don't.
so if you would, when you're ready, just contact me at the office or whatever, and I'll have the base delivered to the gazebo, then a couple days. All right?
All right.
You're
Moving
welcome.
along. Anything else?
Thanks.
Henry?
This portion of the meeting is for public comment. Any member of the public wishing to speak, once recognized, shall stand and state their name and address. Speakers will be allowed 3 minutes if speaking for themselves, or 5 minutes if speaking on behalf of a group. I will ask the speakers to refrain from remarks that are in poor taste, slanderous, or not germane to any action taken or contemplated by the board.
Nobody wants to talk, so we're closing the public portion. I have no report for today.
Mayor, before we go into, can I ask to go into executive session to discuss the employment contract of a contractor?
We will do that after the reports. Well, okay, we can do
Whenever,
it now.
okay,
It's fine.
whenever. Would you like to get the reports? That's fine.
Actually, let's go to executive session now.
Make a
Who
motion.
seconds that?
I would like, okay, I'll do it over again. I would like to make a motion to go into executive session to discuss employment contract of a contractor.
I'll second the motion.
Trustee Christina?
Yes.
Trustee Linden?
Aye.
Trustee Essek?
Yes?
Trustee Briggs?
Yes.
Trustee Barris?
Aye.
Okay, let's go.
Community who is interested to bring in and donate an ornament for the beautiful Village Hall Christmas tree. It's gorgeous, and it's going to look even prettier when it's all decorated. And also join us for hot chocolate and cookies on Friday from 3 to 6 p.m. So please stop down and help us celebrate. That's it.
It's great, thank you very much. Trustee Linden?
No reports.
Trustee Essek?
No report.
Trustee Briggs?
None this evening, thanks.
And Trustee Barris?
No.
Okay, let's go to reports.
The code enforcement report for the month of October 2019. Building permits issued 28, inspections 18, certificates of occupancy 12, certificates of compliance 8, violations found 22, violations satisfied 12. Fees collected for permits, $2,630. Rental fees, $2,015. Compliance, $450, for a total of $5,095. Rental inspections, 27. Rent renewals, 11. Junk car and property maintenance, found 3 junk cars and 6 property maintenance inspections. Removed 4 property maintenance and 3 junk cars. And that's it for the reports.
Thank you very much. Correspondence was received from Taylor Gates, youth leader at the First United Methodist Church, of Fredonia requesting to put a donation box in Village Hall starting December the 1st through December the 20th, 2019.
Be it resolved that the request of Taylor Gates, youth leader at the First United Methodist Church of Fredonia, to place a donation box in Village Hall for the purpose of collecting various toiletries and/or basic hygiene products from December 1st, 2019 through December 20th, 2019 is hereby approved, and be it further resolved that those items collected will be distributed to various community shelters and pantries.
I'll second the resolution.
Trustee Christina?
Yes.
Trustee Linden?
Aye.
Trustee Essek?
Yes.
Trustee Briggs?
Yes.
Trustee Barris?
No.
Got the resolutions?
Be resolved, notice is hereby given that the fiscal affairs of the Village of Fredonia for the period beginning June 1st, 2019 and ending May 31st, 2019 has been examined by the firm of Johnson McCoyak and Associates LLP, and that the report has been filed in the village clerk's office where it is available for public record for inspection by all interested parties, and be it further resolved, a notice shall be published in the official newspaper within 10 days after filing the report.
Should that be 2018?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it should be, yeah, you're correct. Thank you, 2018 to
Sure.
I'm sorry, I'll second that motion.
Trustee Christina?
Yes.
Trustee Linden?
Aye.
Trustee Essek?
Yes.
Trustee Briggs?
Yes.
Trustee Barris?
Aye.
Whereas the successful recognition, investigation, and prosecution of narcotics offenses in the Village of Fredonia require specialized training, and whereas the Governor's Traffic Safety Committee has selected Fredonia Officer Pike to receive drug recognition expert certification training and has pledged to fund said training, and whereas the cost to the village for Phase 1 of the training is anticipated to be no more than $500 for meal allowances and gas, whereas upon successful completion of Phase 1, Phase 2 will be funded by the Governor's Traffic Safety Committee. Now be it resolved, Officer Pike is hereby authorized to attend Phase 1 and 2 of the Drug Recognition Expert Certification Training.
I second that.
Trustee Christina?
Yes.
Trustee Linden?
Aye.
Trustee Essek?
Yes.
Trustee Briggs?
Yes.
Trustee Barris?
Aye.
Whereas the Village of Fredonia and Fredonia Professional Firefighters Association Local 2931 believe that the addition of firefighter/EMTs would allow the department to better serve the needs of the village. Now be it resolved, the 2017 through 2021 CBA is here modified as follows. And all firefighters hired will be required to maintain an EMT basic AEMT-critical care or a paramedic certification defined as maintaining current online status with medical control. If extenuating circumstances exist where such AEMT, critical care paramedic, or EMT is unable to maintain certification, upon returning to work, they will be given a grace period of 60 days to obtain such certification.
I second the resolution.
Trustee Christina?
Yes.
Trustee Linden?
Aye.
Trustee Essek?
I abstain.
You abstain. Trustee Briggs?
I'm not quite comfortable with this. I'm gonna have to vote no right now.
Trustee Barris?
Aye.
So the motion is carried. Okay.
Yep. Either no further business, make motion to close.
You have a
Second
second?
that motion.
Trustee Christina?
Yes.
Trustee Linden?
Aye.
Trustee Essek?
Yes.
Trustee Briggs?
Yes.
Trustee Barris?
Aye.